Chapter 16. Infuriating as Arendt's betrayal is, the stench of the ship bowels demands his attention. The putrid smell of unwashed bodies, with a hint of urine and fecal matter, forces its way into Rosner's nose and down his throat. His eyes water from the drastic shift of fresh sea air to this. He hesitates on one of the steps as he tries to collect himself, but breathing just makes it worse. The man behind Rosner shoves him forward. "Keep moving." Rosner misses the next step and tumbles to the floor. The stench amplifies. What is worse, though he cannot see anyone yet, Rosner feels eyes on him from all around, some laughing, some too broken to muster any emotion, others careless of the situation. It reignites his anger towards Arendt as he is yanked to his feet and ushered down a narrow aisle. Eyes appear out of the dark haze of stench, most white, some yellow. Few are curious. Most watch with disinterest. Some are sorrowful, but for themselves or him, Rosner cannot tell. Many, however, watch with a hunger that sends chills down his spine. Faces grow around them. Many are human, but several are orcish with their numerous horns, or elvish with their long, narrow heads appear. Small, beard-faced men dot the benches. Dwarves. After an eternity spanning several seconds, Rosner can see the details of the dim-lit room. Small red orbs turn into lanterns on posts. Slivers of light from the outside slip through cracks in the deck. The creatures around him grow tattered clothes and bonds around their wrists and ankles. Some grow long, knotted hair while light reflects off the heads of others, and many still rest in between. It is said every creature captured and placed on these ships is a force to be reckoned with. That is why they are taken. Their sheer capacity to kill is what drives people to lust for the duels to their death. Of course, those that lust for them also watch from elevated seats out of harm's way. The variety of skin tones and body types among the captives tells Rosner just how much the ship has traveled. Several races are from the Sea of Sand. Many are from the East Coast, brought over to the Forgotten Sea by skirmishes. Even creatures from the region surrounding the Sea of Ice are bound hand and foot to the floor. Rosner is shoved into an empty section of bench between a large green orc and a slim tan elf. His wrists and ankles are bound. He winces, with what Rosner can only guess is the same amount of care as the others received. Just when Rosner thinks the soldier is done with what he is doing, the man spits on Rosner's head. "Never pick a fight you have no hope of winning, scum," he scowls. Rosner says nothing as the soldier walks away. He tries not to concentrate on anything because everything fuels him with anger. But once he stops thinking about one thing, another takes its place. First, the spit slowly makes its way through his hair to his forehead. Then it is his skin rubbing around his wrists and ankles. The putrid smell. The fact he had no clue a fight was planned. The fact Arendt put the blame on him. He of all people should not be here. If anyone deserves this, it is Arendt. As far as Rosner is concerned, he is no longer someone he looks up to, no longer his mentor. He is a traitor. He needs to be here. Rosner needs to be out, meeting with his sister, working with her so they can find their brother. Kadoric. Rosner screams, one full of anger, full of fire, so pure a dragon would surely stare in awe if one was present. The already quiet room silences even more. No one moves because their eyes are already on him. But Rosner does not care. He needs to find a way to help his brother. What is the thing that what's his name said? Above, someone yells an order. The next second, a soldier rushes down the steps. I thought I was clear. No one makes a noise. Rosner catches the soldier's gaze. All at once, the man's tone changes from aggressive to gentle, but with heavy sarcasm. That is right. A new recruit has yet to be briefed on the rules here. The soldier makes his way over. Let me enlighten you, boy. You will not talk while on this ship, so much as a mutter, and you will feel pain. You no longer have any rights. Understood? Still high on his anger adrenaline rush, Rosner looks right into the soldier's eyes and says, I understand your death will be swift. Rosner must admit the soldier reacted quicker than he thought. He had hardly finished speaking when his face was greeted with a gauntleted hand. After 12 days, it still hurts if he breathes a certain way. The orc next to him says it was broken. All Rosner remembers is the taste of blood and a horrid headache when his head smacked into the wall behind him. Apparently, he got knocked out for a few minutes. Only when he woke did the elf next to him speak. His tone was hushed, tainted with disgust. May I offer you some advice? Do not make enemies with anyone. You might survive that way. But if you choose to do so, like what you did with the soldier, make sure I am far away from you. Afterwards, the elf returned to acting like Rosner was not there. Nothing else has changed. Well, except for the lack of food. All the prisoners are fed, but a lump of bread and a cup of water a day only goes so far. The elf remains silent, although he does look thinner now, if that is even possible. He just stares forward, his cat-like eyes never blinking. On his other side, the orc does the same thing. He does not understand it. How can they seem so content with their position? Are they truly just accepting their fate? The footsteps of a soldier carry down the aisle. Rosner puts his head down like he usually does now and waits for the soldier to pass. However, the boots stop in front of him. Hell's my favorite captive. Rosner bites his tongue. If he says something or even looks at the man, things will not end well. What? Rebel leader. Forgot how to use your tongue? No, I have been meaning to ask. How is my swift death coming? Do I need to sign anything to get this moving along? Because I do not like waiting. Look at me while I'm talking to you, scum! When Rosner does not obey, he feels strong fingers grip his chin and yank it up. The man gives him a wicked grin. There. That is better. Now I have been meaning to ask you, how did you do it? I cannot imagine why anyone would follow a scrawny fellow like you. Take me out of these bonds and I will show you. The spitting words are out before Rosner can think. The soldier grabs Rosner's jaw and levels a dagger near his mouth. For a moment, Rosner thinks the man is going to slice his cheek, but the dagger just hovers there. You know what? The soldier steps back and grins. He proceeds to pick at his nails with his dagger. I think we should have a chance to be civil. I will give you 5 seconds to get out of your bonds. Otherwise, I cut your tongue and I will not have to listen to you anymore. Rosner does not even think about the bonds at this point. He stands up and takes a step towards the soldier before he even finishes a sentence and says, "All right, let us talk." The soldier stares at him, awe-stricken. The shock is quick to make it to Rosner and the rest of the hold. How did he get out of his bonds? As a group, everyone with a view of the situation stares at Rosner's seat in silence. In his place is a dagger, black as midnight, with a red ruby set in the center of the crossguard. Rosner looks back at his wrists. Rope dangles from both of them, separate, free. The soldier grabs one of Rosner's hands and says, "You are..." Unfortunately for him, Rosner cuts him off with an instinctive punch to the face. The soldier releases Rosner as he stumbles back, his hand covering his broken nose. Rosner pays little attention to the shock and confusion in the soldier's eyes. He rushes back to the dagger and, without much thought, turns to the elf and cuts his bonds, then thrusts the weapon into the other creature's hands, telling him, "Cut everyone loose." The elf throws it back on the bench the second it touches his hands. He gives Rosner a hard glare and hisses, "Never give me a blade such like that again." The acid in his voice is almost enough to make Rosner punch him too. "Do you know who that blade belonged?" "By the gods," Rosner exhales, trying to calm himself, "I do not care right now. It is the blade that is setting you free." The elf turns his pointed chin the other way. Rosner takes it as the end of the conversation, now really wants to punch him. However, a resounding, "You are dead," catches his attention. Rosner turns to see the soldier thrust his sword at him. He sidesteps and punches the soldier in the armpit. The soldier's arm retracts immediately, and he crumbles to the ground, moaning in pain. Besides Rosner, the orc lets out a low grumble that sounds something like dagger. He turns around and finds him with his hands outstretched towards the weapon, so Rosner cuts his bonds and hands the blade to him. Unlike the elf, the orc accepts it and proceeds down the line, cutting everyone free. He turns around. Rosner knows they have only a few minutes. "At it again, are we, rebel leader?" mocks the soldier on the other end of the sword. Behind him, 3 more file down the stairs, one of them a giant red orc who heads straight for the one Rosner handed his dagger to. The other 2 bear weapons to anyone that moves. A strange silence suddenly comes over the room. Rosner gives a small shrug. "I guess I could not help myself." The soldier grins. "Then I suppose I can say I was not able to help myself when I killed you." "But I'm not dead yet." "Yet." The soldier takes a stance. Rosner mimics. When he lunges, Rosner is ready. He sidesteps, then closes the gap between the 2 of them. Rosner grabs the hilt and cups the blade before bringing the weapon towards him and slamming the soldier into a pillar. The man loosens his grip on the sword, but still holds onto it, so Rosner brings down his heel hard on the man's toes and slams the pommel into his face. Then he yanks the weapon from him, spins around, and stabs the man in the chest. Before Rosner can retrieve the weapon from the soldier's body, another is on him. Rosner jumps to the side, avoiding a slash across the chest, but falls to the floor. The noise returns to the room, loud as ever. The soldier raises his sword and brings it down. Rosner rotates to one side. A searing pain flares in his upper arm. He forces himself to look up to see the soldier ready for his weapon again. But something large connects to the man's head before he can act, and he crumbles next to Rosner. In his place stands the green orc bearing a few cuts himself. He grabs Rosner's shoulder without much care. Thankfully, it is the other side, and hoists him up. Before he can even think to say thank you, the orc thrusts the dagger back at him. I will wield this curse no longer. Rosner looks at the dagger, then him. What do you mean, curse? The orc just throws the dagger at Rosner's feet. Then he growls, You'll see soon, before pushing his way to the stairs. Rosner stares after the orc. What curse? He looks at the dagger and hesitates. It must mean something, right? Rosner snatches it and takes off up the stairs. Not a second later, Rosner's entire body is in pain and his face is acquainted with the floor. Rosner rolls on his back. Before him, a large man in chainmail levels his longsword at his chest. His rough, stern voice announces, You are mine, rebel leader. Rosner looks at the soldier in disbelief. I am not. The soldier vanishes as someone comes tumbling down the stairs and crashes into him. Rosner picks up the sword the soldier dropped and heads for the stairs again. Another soldier cuts into his calf as he passes. Pain scorches his leg, but the adrenaline is quick to numb it. He blocks the second attack and proceeds to break the man's nose before continuing up the stairs. The sun blinds Rosner when he finally manages to reach the deck. When his eyes adjust, he sees the scene laid out in front of him quite clearly. People and other creatures litter the deck alongside pools of blood. Most of the captives now wield an assortment of weapons of their own. Whether they were looted from bodies or the arms room, Rosner does not know. Both parties, however, shout out in pain and fury all the same. Above it all, he hears a thick bellow of a war horn made out of a hollowed minotaur horn. He has never heard one before today, but the descriptions he has been told fit what he hears. Something that seems to amplify the sounds better than a typical horn, while carrying a menacing tone no other horn makes. Then it is silenced, and the roar of battle resumes. Rosner peers along the horizon anxiously, searching for the chasers. His search, however, is quickly interrupted as a soldier appears in front of him, sword raised. Rosner gives him a look of irritation before driving his sword into the man's foot. The man winces just enough for Rosner to swing behind him and shove the man down the stairs. He turns his attention back to the larger fight, but his mind is not in it. He searches the horizon again, but does not spot the two guard ships anywhere. Maybe they are being blocked by the stern castle behind him. Say they somehow fight off this crew. How are they going to take on fresh soldiers with ships much faster than this one? Is anyone else thinking about this? Probably not. Those who were in the bowels of the ship with him fought one battle before thinking about another. All they want is to not be sent to Kvorn and the Colosseum. And that is not to say he does, but what about after? He has no clue where they are. By Ione and Persen Esellum, he has never even been anywhere away from home, let alone at sea. And what if they do manage to defeat the soldiers? What then? Who will lead? Where will they go? How will they fight those aboard the chasers? Because it is impossible for the entertainer to outpace the quickest ships in the fleet. By judgment, any ship would be faster than a fat, lazy cargo ship. At the bow, towering over every man on the ship, is a creature Rosner has only heard of in tales. The Minotaur stands a rough 8 feet tall with large, black ivory horns protruding from the side of his skull, curving towards the sky like long spear tips. A large, thick-furrowed snout opens to let out a low, gruesome yell before he heaves his battle axe over his head into a massive downward strike. A split second before the axe thuds into the deck, an orc wielding a warhammer and wearing ragged clothes slides into view and swings his weapon in an upward motion against the Minotaur's ribs. The Minotaur tries to evade the strike, but only manages to avoid a direct hit. The rest of the attack strikes the chest plate the Minotaur bears, surely denting it. As this happens, another orc in ragged clothes thrusts a greatsword at him. This the Minotaur bats away with his forearm, and in the same motion lets go of his own weapon and punches the orc in the face, making him disappear into the crowd. A quick flash of movement catches Rosner's attention. He looks off to his left to see a soldier swing his sword down on him. Rosner lifts his own to deflect the blow, but being caught off guard, his movement is slow and choppy. When the blades meet, a jarring pain shoots through Rosner's arms. He stumbles back to gain some distance. The soldier follows without hesitation. What he does not know, however, is Rosner now has the upper hand. He knows he is not the greatest swordsman, but he has learned how to predict where someone is likely to strike first. Well, second, now. He eyes the soldier as he steps to the left, then to the right, and pauses for a fraction of a second. He brings his sword back, meaning to disembowel Rosner, but he is ready for it even before the soldier thinks about striking. He meets the soldier's sword with the faintest touch, glides the blades off each other in one smooth movement, and spins. The tip of his blade slices the soldier's throat as he comes back around. Thus, Rosner is justly rewarded and is honored by means of having the ground removed from his feet only for his back to find it again, 10 feet from where he last stood. Through the sudden shock of pain and the black dots that cloud his vision, Rosner makes out a large figure standing where he was moments before. A few painful seconds later, dread overcomes Rosner as he realizes who it is. A massive gray orc towers over him with battle axe in hand. His gruesome smile sends a chill down Rosner's spine. "You dance, pretty boy," he grumbles. "But do you fight?" The orc takes 2 steps before he is on top of Rosner, swinging his weapon down on him. Rosner rolls, stands, and lashes out with his own weapon, only to be sent sprawling across the deck from a backhand to the face. His sword flies out of his hand, resting just out of arm's reach. Filled with desperation, Rosner reaches for the blade. When his fingers wrap around the hilt, a small piece of hope seems to drift from the blade, only to be destroyed under the weight of the orc's boot as it pins it in place. Rosner lets out a shaky breath. It seems this is the end. He faces the orc towering over him. The creature looks down on him with disgust. "You disappoint. Looked forward to fight." He starts to raise his axe when Rosner's vision goes dark. "We will fix this. I have told you." Palfrey? Rosner opens his eyes. The old man stares at him with a concerned but determined expression. "When?" "Doric." Rosner tries to look around, but nothing happens. "I'm trying to fight, but he is too strong. Soon he will." A pained groan cuts off the rest. Rosner immediately feels a stabbing pain in the back of his mind. He falls to his knees in some grass prairie. The pain increases to multiple jabs and hands brutally ripping at his brain. Somewhere in the distance he hears Palfrey say, "Doric, stay with me. We need..." Rosner blinks. He's back on the ship. The chorus of shouts and steel still sing. His hand still grips the sword, but the black dagger he had earlier is now buried in the foot of the orc with his other hand on it. He does not remember doing it, but he must have pulled it out when he was blacked out. Still, stab in the foot should not be deadly, so why is he not dead? He looks up at the orc and stifles a shout. The orc is ghost white, something he did not think possible with his already white skin. He still holds his axe high above his head, mid-scream. When Rosner yanks the dagger out of the orc's foot, the creature crumbles into a heavy heap. Do not make me do that again. It is not fun for anyone when I do. Rosner stands up abruptly and looks around mid-sentence. His brother should be with Palfrey. So why is he hearing his voice here? And what was that vision? He pounds his head with the palm of his hand. He must be going crazy. Before he can think deeper into it, a yell grabs his attention. He turns, managing to evade a club to the head. He feels the air rush past him, like the fingers of death kissing his cheek. Before he can fully recover, the dwarven soldier bearing a chest plate lets loose a flurry of blows. Rosner manages to dodge most of them. One or two clip his arm. The last one slams into the side of his ribs. Rosner stumbles to the railing, wheezing. The dwarf is gracious enough to give him half a breath before striking again. Rosner pushes himself to the side just before the club crushes the rail. From the bow, a howl resonates from the clamor. Rosner spots the Minotaur still standing, although with a single horn now. Against him is now only one orc. The orc wields his sword in one hand and a curved black object in the other. Both of them are covered in blood, but by the orc's heavy stance, Rosner guesses he will not last much longer. Rosner looks back at the dwarf and ducks in the same motion. As the club sails over his head, he removes the dagger from his waist and plunges it into the dwarf's gut. For a second, the blade emits a warm aura. The dwarf's scream is cut short as the blade turns cold once more. Rosner watches in fear and mild interest as the dwarf turns the same color as the orc. He yanks the blade back and the creature crumbles to the deck. At the front of the ship, all Rosner sees is the Minotaur bringing down his axe. Fear is quick to grab onto him once more. This Minotaur is causing the most trouble for them, and he does not seem to be slowing down. If they have any chance to stop this fight now, Rosner has a feeling killing him will do it. There's only one problem. There are over 6 fighters on deck. If Rosner really wants to fight him, he will have to battle his way there first. And he might as well just offer himself up on a silver platter. So he scans around him for anything that might help. The most promising thing he finds is some rope tied to a peg on the rail, the other end tied to the mast somewhere above. Before he can persuade himself not to, he snatches his sword from the deck, makes his way over to it, and cuts it. He wraps the rope around his wrist repeatedly and jumps on the railing itself and runs along it, using the tension on the rope to keep him from falling. When Rosner reaches the front of the ship, he jumps from the railing and lets the rope slide from his grasp. Then he charges the Minotaur. The creature turns his attention to Rosner and flares his nostrils. He meets Rosner and slams his entire body at once with the flat of his axe. Rosner flies into the railing. When he strikes it, he hears the splintering of wood above a pounding head. He turns and rolls just before the axe cuts him in two. Rosner settles a few feet away, with his back against the railing, his feet sprawled in front of him. Pain covers his entire body. The Minotaur faces him and pulls his lips back in a sneer, letting out a low growl before making another approach. Rosner grips his sword, but his arm refuses to lift it. As the Minotaur raises his axe, Rosner realizes how big of a mistake this is. As the Minotaur brings the axe down over his head, an arrow bursts out from his hand and knocks the axe off target, embedding into the rail an inch above Rosner's head. The Minotaur looks at the archer and bellows a deep yell. Realizing he has been given only a small window, Rosner does not bother with who shot the arrow. He drives the sword into the neck of the Minotaur, cutting off his cry. The creature has just enough life left in him to turn and face Rosner, his eyes full of fury before he starts to fall forward. Rosner rolls out of the way, leaving the sword where it is, and watches it shoots through the back of the neck. A soldier breaks from the fight and makes a charge for Rosner. Rosner scrambles to his feet. A moment before the soldier reaches him, another arrow protrudes from his neck, spraying some warm blood at his feet. Rosner looks at the mast. It does not take long before he comes across a woman on the yardarm with a bow in hand. Even though she just shot the soldier in front of Rosner, her attention is already elsewhere. "Rebel leader." The hoarse voice is coated in pain, but he recognizes it all too well. He turns around to see the orc who sat next to him below deck, now covered in blood. "Why? Why steal away my honor?" He sounds angry, but he has no energy to back it up. Rosner just looks at him. "What?" "That honorable fight. Honorable death make name one to remember. You take that away." "Then live to fight another honorable fight," Rosner tells him before walking away. He was right earlier. Not too long after the Minotaur falls, the fighting stops in waves. The closest soldiers are the first to lay down their arms. News works its way to the stern of the ship, and eventually every soldier lets their weapon fall to the deck. Some captives, a few of the more ruthless, take the chance to slay the soldiers then, but the others are quick to tell them off. One man, a large brute with long mangled hair and yellow teeth, however, will not relent. He pulls the hair back on one of the soldiers, a young man, perhaps witness to a few more of Marhis's reign than Rosner. It is probably his first voyage. "I say we kill them all!" The man spits, twisting his fist in the man's hair, making him wince. "Do you all forget who put us here? Surely none of us came of our own accord. No, we were taken by force from our families, friends, our way of living. And for what? To play in the High King's games? I think not." Rosner shakes his head. He has a feeling no one will say anything, and he cannot help but share his thought. But he cannot let the soldier die, especially not like this. "Kill him, and you will make yourself just as bad as you are making them out to be," Rosner says, stepping forward. The man scoffs. "How do you figure that, boy?" For some reason, the soldier finds this a wise opportunity to speak. "All we are doing is following orders." Both Rosner and the man look at the soldier and, in unison, tell him to shut up. The man turns back to Rosner. "As you were saying, boy." Rosner racks his brain, trying to figure out how best to play out the situation. "Look, what I am saying is, there is no point in killing them now. They serve no threat. They cannot run for help. If they so choose, they can jump overboard, but they will die from either sea creatures or cold before reaching land or another ship." A dwarf with a bloodied face steps up. "What say you that they will not just use a rowboat?" This stumps Rosner. In truth, he has not thought that far ahead. From behind him, a woman's voice catches everyone's attention. "You know, we can just throw them below deck where they held us. Keep the door barred and guard. They will not be able to get out. There is nothing down there for them to use." After a second, Rosner realizes this woman is the one who was on the yardarm earlier. Her chocolate skin tells him she is from the Sea of Sand. Her long, black hair is tied back tight and falls past her waist. She looks about a head plus shorter than him, but twice as fierce. Looking at her makes him feel uncomfortable for various reasons. Reasons he would rather not think about. Around him, everyone murmurs their thoughts to those next to them. A few seconds later, the man holding the soldier throws him to the deck.
Fine woman, so be it. But do not think I will keep listening to your nonsense. Women know nothing of war.
He spits at her feet. She glares at him, but remains silent. After the previous crew is below deck, everyone reconvenes in front of the captain's cabin. Rossner, weary and tired after the fighting, finds a spot next to the mast and leans against it, finally allowing his body to rest. Everyone else stands in front of him in a circle, discussing what to do next.
We sail to port,
someone suggests. Many mumble in agreement, some not.
Which one?
Someone questions.
No port,
someone else argues.
Sure, we beach.
This turns into whether the ship will break if they beach it, and whether or not it matters. It tells Rossner with a depressing thought. They do not have that many seafarers among them.
Rebel leader, you lead.
Rossner does not know how long he was not listening, but the orc's voice snaps him back into the group. Quiet, impatient stares surround him. He suddenly feels uncomfortable. No, I cannot.
You leader,
he urges, to Rossner's annoyance. No, they only call me that because a friend of mine, at least back then, told the soldiers I started a rebellion, though I did no such thing. In truth, it might not have been the best thing to say in front of this group, but he has been holding on to the thought ever since he was taken, and he cannot see himself ever forgetting it. Still, the orc continues.
Still save life. My life, yours.
I think I can agree with that. From the side, the same woman snakes through the crowd to the center. Rossner blinks at her.
What? No, I do not even know you. Why would you agree to...
She stalks over to him. To his dismay, everyone clears the way for her. I do not need to know you, my pet. All I need to know is that you fight well. He shakes his head, making a mental note to talk to her about this pet thing later. You do not understand. I am no leader.
Obviously not.
It is the same man that held the hair of the soldier from earlier.
I, however, will be glad to take the role. We need to make them pay for our captures.
The woman looks at him with little interest. And how do you plan to do that? He grins.
I'm glad you asked, Missy. We have one of their ships. Now we can hunt down the other slavers one by one, build our own fleet, and... What, pretty boy? Do you disagree?
Rossner freezes mid-headshake. As great as it sounds, I do not really think it will work. The man takes a step forward.
And why is that?
Great. Another thing to back up without knowing why he's saying something. You see, the woman lets out a sigh and wheels to face the man. What he is getting at, to put it lightly, is that it is a great plan if you want to send us to judgment. The man takes a threatening step forward, but the woman ignores it. The way I see it, most of us here are not interested in this affair. And even if they were, I have doubts that we would have enough to effectively sail this vessel. Besides that, I am not sure you are aware of how difficult sailing on the sea really is. But if you are used to that, and you capture another vessel, you will have to man it, supply it, strategize with it. Now, if you are prepared for all that, by the life-giver herself, go ahead.
But you got nothing if you do not have followers. Murmurs creep back into the crowd. Then the same dwarf from earlier steps forward. I think I speak for all when I say most of us want to return home. We are fighting men, yes, and women, he adds after the woman coughs. But this battle is too big for this group. I fear we will surely perish if we continue this endeavor. And you are weak, gem thief, the man growls. The dwarf tears his hammer from his belt and points it at the man. We will see who is weak after I smash your hair in, race killer. The man draws his own longsword. Rosner looks at them, not able to believe what is going on. Enough, he yells. This will not solve the mouse problem. He turns to the man. I think all of us can agree the High King needs to pay, but in our current position, that is impossible. Our best chance of survival is to set sail to the nearest port and return to our homes. And what will that do? They know where our homes are, if they are not already destroyed. Rosner shakes his head. Truthfully, I do not know. However, I think the best possibility is for us to return home or to a neighboring village and prepare them for a fight. That, or try to relocate. The man shrugs. We set ourselves up to die either way. Why can this man not see what Rosner is getting at? Wrong. If you challenge the fleet, that is certain death. If we make for land and return home, we can have a chance to prolong our lives, as well as others. The chances seem the same to me. Why not just stay on the ship? Rosner cannot help but laugh a little. I do not believe many of us are able to sail a ship, for one. 2, there is a chance we will lose many to sickness. If neither of those pique your interest, think about your family, friends, or neighbors. If you go back to them, they will have a chance to fight. If you do not, and the Van Mirian visits them, they are surely all dead. Rosner lets this sink in. When no one says anything, he nods. So, who wants to go home?